The daughter of the Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river while her attendants walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to bring it. When she opened it, she saw the child. He was crying, and she took pity on him. "This must be one of the Hebrews' children," she said. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes." So the girl went and called to the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child, and she took him in and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she took him in as her son. She named him Moses because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." One day after Moses had grown up, he went out to his people and saw their forced labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his kinsfolk. He looked this way and that, and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. When he went out the next day, he saw two Hebrews fighting. And he went to one who was in the wrong. "Why do you strike your fellow Hebrew?" he answered. "Who made you a ruler and judge over us? Do you mean to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, "Surely the thing is known." When Pharaoh heard of it, he sought to kill Moses. Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led his flock beyond the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of a bush. He looked, and the bush was blazing, yet it was not consumed. Then Moses said, "I must turn aside and look at this great sight, and see why the bush is not burned up." When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." And he said, "Here I am." Then he said, "Come no closer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place which you are standing on is holy ground." He said further, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God.
So we're continuing our journey through Exodus, and we've come to a fairly important person in this journey, and that is Moses. As we heard Laura read, we're beginning the story with kind of how Moses got his beginning and then the call that God gave to Moses. But just a quick reminder, the Israelites moved to Egypt centuries ago before all this happened, a severe famine. And Joseph was the head of second in charge of Egypt, and he collected food and he saved Egypt and a bunch of the countryside from the famine because he had prepared for it. So all of Joseph's family moved to Egypt and stayed. And so they grew and they multiplied over a few centuries, and finally the Pharaoh had died, and they had kind of forgotten why the Israelites were there, and they got scared of them because there were so many of them. And they began a big building project, building two giant cities, and thought, we have a ready-made labor force, and we have a way to keep under control. We'll make them slaves. So that's how the Egyptians took and made the Israelite people their slaves. And so that's when we get this story of Moses here, and we move through Exodus, and we remember that the two main themes in Exodus is first God's continuing promise to Abraham, the promise of the land in the promised land, and the promise of heirs, offspring, if you will. The second major theme in Exodus is God being with his people and God leading his people. So we'll explore that. But what we've got in Moses here is an awesome call story. A call story is when God calls someone and either they answer or they don't. And there are a few of them in the Bible, and this is one of the more famous ones, of course, because Moses is a major player. But it's also kind of famous and interesting because Moses does a lot of talking back with God, and back and forth with God, and saying no, 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 and finally God gets angry and says yes, and Moses says yes. But it's also interesting because it reflects our own calls. And when I mean call, I mean God has talked, or God has given us, like Ellie said, a talent. Each one of us has a specific talent. Probably more than one or two. Each one of us has been called to use that talent or find ways to use ourselves to serve God, wherever that may be. It's as different a call for every person in this room. But the question I want you to think about is, does God call the equipped, or does God equip the called? Or maybe differently, does God only use those who are worthy of following God? And the story of Moses kind of helps us answer those questions, if you will. A little background on Moses. You remember, the Pharaoh was tired of the Israelites or the Hebrews growing in such population that he ordered all the male children to be killed to help control their population. We know this command wasn't followed because obviously they continued to multiply. It wasn't followed because the midwives helped the Hebrew women give birth and not necessarily killed the kids. And we also know it wasn't followed because in this story, they went and found who the child's mother was to help wean him, Moses. Moses' mother, remember, raised him or hid him until he was 3, and then placed him in a basket and floated him in the river to a place where people bathed often, knowing that he would be found. And they did find him. Pharaoh's daughter, or one of his daughters, it should read, found him and wanted to raise him. But first he needed to be nursed, and the assistant or the maid of Pharaoh's daughter went and found the boy's mother, knowing they knew who this boy belonged to already. So obviously, not everybody was killed. But anyway, Moses is born to a Hebrew mother. He is raised then in Pharaoh's kingdom or in his household. So he gets all of the benefits of being royalty, being part of Pharaoh. He was trained, and he was eloquent, and he was powerful. In fact, in Acts chapter 7, verse 22, Stephen says, "So Moses was instructed in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in his words and deeds." Now, this is an important statement to remember. Stephen is being tried before the Jewish council for blasphemy. And this passage comes from a defense that he says that Jesus and his following of Jesus follows a long line of history. And he goes and lists the history of basically the Israelites growing up, and part of it was Moses. But he says Moses was powerful in his word and his deeds. We remember that statement by Stephen because it's going to come back as Moses is talking with God. So anyway, we get back to Moses, and he is aware that he's a Hebrew, that that's who he is. And so he's out, and he recognizes an Egyptian whipping or beating a Hebrew slave, and he reacts and he kills this Egyptian. He thinks he's done it in secret, so he buries him in the sand. Well, he finds out in talking to a few Hebrews later that they know what he did, and so he's scared. He's scared, of course, of what the Hebrews might think, or he's more scared of Pharaoh, who obviously finds out what happened and sets out to kill him. So Moses is around 40, and he flees Egypt. And he goes to the land of Midian, where he comes upon a well and sees a bunch of shepherds harassing 7 women who have been sent there to get water. And he rescues them from the mean shepherds and ends up becoming friends with their father, Jethro. And then he starts working with Jethro as a shepherd. In the course of time, he marries one of Jethro's daughters, Zipporah, and they have 2 sons. So then we get to the story where we hear about the burning bush. It says in the Bible that the Pharaoh dies. That was after Moses. And God hears the cries of his Hebrew people, and he remembers his promise to Abraham. I always think when I hear that, well, did God forget the promise and only remembered when the people started complaining loud enough? Or how does that exactly work? Anyway, God remembers and hears the cries of the people. And there's Moses tending sheep on Mount Horeb. He looks around, he sees a bush that's burning, but it's not being consumed. So there's a fire and smoke, but the wood of the bush is not being burnt up. And he thinks, that's odd. Let's go check that out. So he walks up there, and he hears God say, "Take off your sandals, this is holy ground." And God says, "I need you to be a messenger. I need you to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go, and you will lead my people out of Egypt." That's when Moses probably thinks curiosity just killed the cat. I never should have checked out that burning bush. But Moses has a fantastic conversation with God. Moses says, "Yep, I'll go do it, no problem." That's not what Moses says. Moses comes up with a number of excuses first. First, Moses says, "Who am I? I'm a nobody. I am not in any shape or form to lead anybody. Nobody is going to follow me." And God says, "It doesn't matter who you are. They'll follow you because I am God." Then Moses says, "Well, I don't know what to call you. I can't tell these people some burning bush told me to come and lead you out of Egypt. So who do I tell them that you are?" And that's when we first hear the God's name, Yahweh, or also usually read as Jehovah. God says, "I am who I am," which translates into Yahweh. Then Moses says, "Fine, but they're not going to believe me anyway. No way they're going to believe me. I'm just some shepherd from Midian, a Hebrew that ran away." So God says, "Fine, I'll give you 3 signs that you can perform, then they'll believe you. Throw your staff on the ground, it turns into a snake. Pick the snake up by its tail, it turns back into a staff. Put your hand in your coat, pull it out, it's full of leprosy. Put it back in, it's healed. And then take some water from the Nile and pour it on the ground, and it will become dry blood. Or will become blood. You perform these tasks and they'll believe you." Not yet convinced he should do it, Moses says, "Well, I don't speak very well." Now wait a minute. Stephen told us in Acts that Moses was trained in the Egyptian household as one of royalty, where he was powerful in words and deeds. So is he flat out lying to God there and saying, "I don't talk well"? Or is he saying, "I don't want to talk in front of these people"? In any event, God says, "Well, I'll give you the words to say." Seems to me that God's being fairly patient with Moses so far. 3 or 4 excuses in, and he's still finding ways to help him. Finally, Moses responds to all of that. After seeing the signs and performing the signs, Moses says, "Let someone else go." Then the quote from Exodus is, "Then the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses." Oh boy. He's done it this time. I think Moses pushed it too far. So eventually Moses says, "I'll do it," and God says, "You can take your brother Aaron with you." So there's a lot to unpack in that story and what it means for us. And we've only got 30 to 40 minutes left to do it. But remember the question we had in the beginning. Does God send the equipped, or does God equip the sent? Where do you think Moses fell in that category? Was he already equipped and ready to lead the people? Or there's some more work to be done? I suppose you think about his Egyptian upbringing and the access he had to education and power, that he's probably all right to walk back into Pharaoh's court and say, "Let my people go," or tell Pharaoh that God says you're going to let his people go. I think Moses was more than willing or more than equipped to do it, but he was scared. And I think that's where the story talks to us. Well, the story has a lot to do with us. Because each one of us has been called by God to do something. The examples are numerous. They're as numerous as there are people sitting in the pews, because each of our call is a little different. But I want to tell you a story about a call that I'm familiar with. And that was my call into ministry. As you've heard me say before, I kind of knew in high school that I wanted to be a minister. As going in high school, my freshman, sophomore, junior year, I took classes to become an engineer, because I first thought that's kind of what I wanted to do. So the summer after my junior year, I took a couple of visits to some engineering schools around the area, and just never felt good that I wanted to go there. I started questioning if I wanted to be an engineer. I took a class in high school where I had to draw or engineer a new shop room, literally build a wall and put tables in a different spot. And it took me half a quarter because the work is so stinking meticulous to do it. I thought, I hate it. I can't stand doing that. So I remember, always in the back of my mind, I thought about being a pastor. And I was driving with my dad once in a pickup truck, and I said, "Dad, when do you think I might be a pastor?" He said, "Sure, whatever it takes to get you out of the house." So I thought, all right, I'll be a pastor. I talked to a couple of local pastors what I should do, and they said get a college degree in anything but theology, because if you go to seminary, you'll get plenty of theology. So went to college and got a sports medicine degree because I enjoyed sports, thought it'd be cool, and also got a second degree in the Bible, I guess, automatically there. But anyway, went to college. College was easy for me, luckily. So went through college pretty easily. Started seminary. Thought I was going to breeze through, and then seminary got a little tough. At one point, a couple of the classes were pretty difficult, but the hardest part was a crisis of faith, because it started to make you form what you thought, not just what you learned in Sunday school or what mom and dad taught you. So you read this, what do you think? How does it apply to your life? And that was hard. It made me think at some point, I don't want to do this anymore, because it made me question too much, it made me think too much. I remember a specific night in one of the houses one of the houses, I didn't move around, I stayed in the house. One of the houses I was living in with some roommates, having a panic attack, thinking, I do not want to be a pastor. This is insane. Why would anyone want to do this? I'm going to do something else. I remember sitting up pretty much that whole night, wrestling with that thought. I remember talking to my parents and said, just finish out the semester, whatever, and we'll go from there. So I went back to the seminary, I finished out the semester, and kind of thought, all right, it's okay, we'll make it through. Started being able to put my faith back together as I took some more classes and started to make sense for myself. Then I met this wonderful gal. She woke up. And I remember we dated for a little while, and we had talked about, if we get married, I want to be a pastor. How does that sit with you? And she says, well, I kind of always thought I'd grow up being a pastor's wife. She always thought growing up that she might be a pastor's wife. And I thought, ha, good one, God, good one. So we finished some more struggles with the final paper that you have to write for graduate school, and then getting your whole ordination paper approved by a group of people telling you that you're wrong was a great time. But we made it, muddled through chaplaincy for a year in the hospital, and came down to Minden, and the rest is history as we muddled through almost a dozen years here. But I look at that and I think I certainly wasn't equipped when I was first called. I still may not be quite equipped the way I should be. But I was lucky enough that I didn't put that kind of call off longer and longer until I finally couldn't answer it. I was able to at least say yes and then struggle through those first few years. And I'm glad I did. I love what I'm doing, and I love being a pastor. But it's interesting, it's going through, there are numerous times when I could have said, I'm done, this is too hard, this is not what I want to do, if it's what I'm going to do, it's supposed to be easy, right? But luckily, I didn't and kept muddling through. So now we get to how do we respond when we're called to do other things? When God calls us beyond just maybe a vocation, when God calls us to work with a friend, to volunteer at a church, or God works in our lives someone else. How do we miss those calls, or why do we miss those calls? Excuses. The excuses. And I find myself guilty of this too, as I find God calling me to other areas of ministry, or other things to do with my life, with my family, places we should, other things we should try. And I come up with excuses like Moses. So, like Moses, that's why that story is so cool. God calls us to do something, whatever it may be. If you're imagining something God calling you that you said no to, then you might relate to some of these excuses. The first is like Moses. Not me, God. Certainly not me. Who am I? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I've done? Or do you know what I've not done? We respond as though God has made some mistake in calling us and asking us to do something. Certainly we're not qualified. Maybe we've never done it before. Or maybe we're disqualified because we have done something so terrible in our life that certainly God couldn't ask us to do anything else. But look at Moses. He was probably qualified because of his education, his upbringing, but he was a murderer. Probably should disqualify him from being the first prophet and leader, the first leader of the Hebrew people out of Egypt. But God didn't care about Moses' past. God cared about Moses' future. Just as God isn't concerned with what we've done or what we haven't done in our past. God is simply concerned with what we will do when we are asked. Will we say yes, or will we ignore it? So maybe we get past the excuse that we aren't good enough for whatever God calls us to do, but then we start to doubt God. Who are you, God? What are you going to do to help me? How do I know that what you promised or what you've asked me to do, you're going to help me follow it through? So we question whether or not God is really going to help us. As if God has not kept all of God's promises in the past. As if the creator of everything can't help us with our task or our journey. We seem to be able to conveniently forget all the time that God has been with us through other times in the past. So God reminds us, he did Moses, about how long that he's been around and working with people. God will promise to be there. So if we get past that we're not good enough, and God's not good enough, we can't come up with some other excuse. So it's, they won't believe me, or what I do won't do any good anyway, or I won't do a good enough job. Somebody else will do a much better job than me. It's especially true if what you've been called to do asks you to step out of a comfort zone. I'm perfectly fine attending church once a Sunday or once a week, volunteering once in a while, praying once in a while. That's good enough for me. You can't ask me to step out of that nice comfort zone and make me uncomfortable. Or if it seems difficult, that excuse becomes really, really easy. It says, I won't do a good enough job, God. Somebody else will do it, not me. So again, God laughs at Moses, and God laughs at us and says, Moses, I'll give you 3 signs. Well, he doesn't give us 3 miracles. He didn't give me any signs that I can perform to say, here, look at me. I should be your pastor because I can do this miracle. But what God has given us is the power of the Spirit. Now that Spirit is promised to all of us and lives in all of us and is waiting to give us the energy and the courage and the ability to do what God has called if we will tap into it. So if we haven't worked up enough excuses yet, Moses comes up with, I can't because I can't talk well enough. I'm not eloquent enough. And that's where we come in, where I can't because insert excuse here. I'm too busy. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm a woman. I'm a man. I'm whatever. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. Whatever the excuses, we insert it here. And God doesn't get angry yet. God patiently tells Moses, I'll help you out. I'll give you the words to say when you need to say them. This is where God reminds us that God is powerful enough to overcome any of our limitations. Our God made each and every one of us, so God certainly knows how to help any of us overcome any of the excuses we want to say in front of Him. So running out of excuses, Moses finally says no. And this is where God has finally had enough. The patience has run out. And it says God's anger is kindled against Moses. I still wonder what that looks like. I don't think I wonder enough to want to know or actually find out what God's anger feels like. But God says, you will go, basically, and you'll take your brother with you. Now we kind of lose sight of that anger side of God as we deal more with the grace and the forgiveness of the New Testament God. And I don't think it's that God is going to get angry with us if we say no to the call. But I think what happens is we miss the blessings that God wants to give us. And maybe more importantly, we miss the blessings that God wants to give others through us when we say no. Or we ignore that call, that pleading, that prodding of the Spirit in our lives. When we don't try and follow what God wants, we miss certain things in our lives. We miss opportunities to bless others. Now, in no way is this any kind of prosperity gospel where you follow God's will and you're rich and everything's easy. One person followed God's will perfectly, and he died on the cross. So, following God's will and answering the call doesn't mean it's easy and it's roses the whole way. What it does mean that you've opened yourself up to let God work through you. You've opened yourself up to experience new and unique blessings through God. And maybe, as I said, more importantly, you've opened yourself up to bless others. Let God bless others through you. But we have to get past all the excuses. Whatever they are, they're numerous. I've used them. I'll probably try and use them in the future. But God knows that if we simply say yes and step out of that comfort zone, then exciting things are in store for us. We may not know what they are, but I promise the blessings will be many and the rewards will be great. The question is, are we going to respond? And will that response be, yes, God, here I am? I sure hope so. Amen.